Here is Jerry Lucas.
Thank you very much, Dick, President Gowdy, new inductees, returning Hall of Famers, families of those who are being inducted tonight, and of course, friends of basketball. It's a pleasure for me to be here tonight for several reasons. Number one, I think that I'm very unique standing here in that I had the opportunity to play with all 5 of the players who are on the dais here tonight. Of course, I actively played with Jack and Oscar at Cincinnati, and Willis and Dave and Bill in New York, so I have something in common with all of these gentlemen. And as I searched for some words to talk about Bill Bradley certainly the word common did not come to my mind. Words like unique and rare and one of a kind and very uncommon were the words that came to my mind to describe Senator Bill Bradley. You know, as Bill has traveled a lot of roads, the roads to Rhodes Scholarship, roads to the Hall of Fame now, roads to the United States Senate, and I'm sure as Bill traveled the road to the Hall of Fame, he was known, of course, affectionately by all of us who knew him as Dollar Bill. Dollar Bill Bradley was a name that was given to him as he came to the point, especially with the New York Knicks. And he was a player, of course, that has had a very profound effect upon the game of basketball in many, many ways. His athletics feats, of course, are legendary throughout all the levels of basketball in which he had the opportunity to participate. But beyond that, there's much more to Bill Bradley than just a basketball player. He was a type of player with the highest degree of unselfishness that many of us have ever seen in the game of basketball. He had the highest degree of discipline that many of us have ever seen. His work habits, his team play, his knowledge of the game, and a host of other personal traits have made Bill very unique in the game of basketball. But I think the most that I could say for Bill today, my young son JJ is here with me, and he's 8 years old. And there are a lot of things that I try to teach my young son, and there are a lot of people who I say, JJ, I wouldn't want you to pattern your life after that particular person. But I think the highest comment that the highest accolade that I can pay to Bill Bradley tonight is that I've said to JJ, and I would say to him many times, son, here is a man who I would like to see you pattern your life after. And there aren't too many people today that we can say that to, and Bill Bradley is one of those kinds of men that we all know that we as parents can say that to our children. And being able to say that I played with Bill Bradley, of course, is being able to say that I played with a man who really knew the game of basketball inside and out. He could intellectually discern what was happening and what was needed to pull his team together in any situation in a basketball court, and I was privileged to see that many times throughout Bill's career. He commanded a great respect from all of his teammates at every level of competition. And he was a man in those days, unfortunately, who couldn't match a shirt and a pair of pants. And I think as I look back on my time with Bill and the success that he has had, I have to come up with a particular name that my teammates, especially at New York, will recognize, and many of the New York Knicks fans will recognize, and that's the name of Dick Barnett. And I think Dick Barnett has had something to do with the contribution to Bill's success, too, because in those days, Dick taught Bill how to dress. He taught him how to put a pair of pants and a shirt and a coat together, and perhaps without that instruction, Bill may have never gotten past 8th Avenue in New York, much less to Washington, D.C. as a senator today. But we're all aware of Bill's present life as a senator today, and of course he has gotten beyond New York and to the Senate. And when Bill was playing, he wanted to be just one of the guys. And now he's in the United States Senate, he's not forgot that tradition that he has had, because Bill is really mindful of the common man as we know him today. I heard a story recently from one of his aides that said that we all recall perhaps the story in the news recently about when President Reagan was in Pittsburgh and the gentleman who had lost his job came up and gave him an application, and what the president did for him, not on a personal basis. But Senator Bill Bradley has taken it even further than that. There was a gentleman that came to his office recently, I was told, who was out of work, and Bill was very concerned about the common man in America. And he said to him, I think I can help you. He said, I just got somebody a job at the Washington, D.C. Zoo. And he said, if you come with me, he said, I think I can probably help you get a job too. So Bill took him to the zoo, and he knew the people there, and he said, this man needs a job. Can you help him? I'm very concerned as a U.S. Senator to try to help this man. So the man thought for a while, and he said, no, I don't think I can help him. But then he thought of something that had just happened. The Washington, D.C. Zoo had a very famous ape that had just died. And he said, well, I don't know what kind of a job you're going to think this is, but he said, I think I have a job for you that will help you. He said, if you don't mind dressing up like an ape and going out here and acting like an ape, especially for the children who come in, I think I can get you a job. And he looked at Senator Bradley, and Senator Bradley looked back at him, and he said, well, sir, it's the best I can do for you right now. So the man put this ape suit on, and he used to play around as an ape as the children came. And he felt funny at first, but then he got to like his job. And when the children came on the weekends, he was very exuberant. He would pound his chest and act like an ape would. And he got more and more and more into his job. And then one day, they had a big crowd of youngsters there, especially that day, and he was acting at the best he could as an ape, and he was on this rope swinging out over this tree, and unfortunately the limb broke and he fell down in the lion's cage. And there he finds himself in this lion's cage, and he looks over at this lion growling and coming toward him, and all he could say is, Senator Bradley, what in the world have you got me into? Help, get me out of here. And this lion comes closer and closer and closer, and it's growling at him, and he continues to scream, what in the world did Senator Bradley get me into? And all of a sudden the lion rushed up to him, and he whispered very low, shut up, you idiot, you want to get us both fired? So it's apparent that Senator Bradley is getting a lot of people jobs around Washington, D.C. But joking aside, of course, we are here tonight to induct an exceptional man into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Not only has he proven himself in basketball, but he continues to prove himself with his conduct leading our country in the U.S. Senate, with his family, and the service to his country. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you an exceptional basketball player and an exceptional American, Senator Bill Bradley.
Bill Bradley. Bill Bradley, by virtue of your election and by the authority vested in me by the trustees of the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, I have the distinguished honor to enshrine you as a player in the Basketball Hall of Fame with all the rights and privileges. Congratulations. Here's your ring, Bill. Thank you. I'll hold this there.
Jerry Lucas, members of the Hall of Fame, members of the dais, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight is a real first for me. This is the first time I will have ever performed in Massachusetts wearing long pants. I want to say further that asking a U.S. Senator to limit his remarks to 10 minutes is a little bit like throwing the ball to Jack Twyman and asking him not to shoot, or expecting a successful coach like Dean Smith not to have a summer camp. I am very pleased to come into the Hall of Fame with Dave DeBusschere, my teammate and roommate. I felt that it was only appropriate. For about 6 years, I used to walk behind Dave DeBusschere and say, yes, sir, and carry his bag around the league, so why shouldn't I carry his bag into the Hall of Fame? You know, being a basketball player is not as easy as it seems to a lot of people. It's hard work. And I guess explanations are sometimes difficult. At least I found that when I finished college and decided to play professional basketball. My father, who was not a sports fan, asked me a very difficult question. When are you going to get a job? And every year after I finished my season, this question would be, would I play again? And he'd ask me the same question, which was, when are you going to get a job? Then after about 10 years of playing, I decided that I was going to retire and that I would enter politics. So I saw him that offseason. I said, well, Dad, I'm giving it up. I'm going to retire from basketball, and I'm going to go into politics. And he said, when are you going to get a job? Seriously, tonight I think thank yous have to start with the family. My wife and my mother are here, and I'm very pleased that they've been able to share these moments with me. My father always wanted me to be a gentleman, and my mother always wanted me to be a success. Neither wanted me to be a basketball player or a politician, which should tell every parent, never underestimate the power of your influence on your own children. I remember a conversation I had one night in Chicago after one of those games as a pro, and it was a small group of people, and one person asked me, "Do you really like to play basketball?" And I said, "Yeah, more than anything else I could be doing." The person said, "You know, that's great. You know, I think I know what you mean. I once played the trumpet. And we had a band, and we used to travel around and play on weekends in colleges. And in the last year, we had offers to tour and to make records. Everyone wanted to except me." And I said, "Why didn't you?" And he said, "Well, my father thought it wasn't secure enough." I said, "Well, how did you feel?" He said, "Well, I guess I agreed. The life's so transient. You're always on the road. There's no sureness where you'll get your next job. It just doesn't fit into a life plan. So I went on to law school and quit playing the trumpet, and don't, except for every now and then." And I asked him, "Do you like the law?" He said, "It's okay, but nothing like playing the trumpet." For 25 years, 10 of which professionally, I played my trumpet. To have done otherwise, I think, would have been to deny a part of my personality perhaps more fundamental than any other. I was paid well to do something I loved. I worked with a wonderful and talented group of human beings, and in the process of traveling with them across America for 10 years, I think I saw our country whole. But for me, the pattern of work was set long before. As one mentor of mine said at age 13, "If you're not practicing, remember that someone somewhere is practicing. And when you two meet, given roughly equal ability, he'll win." And now, one of my major moments of insight in the United States Senate was the realization that dedication to the team, the community, has a larger, more important application than I ever dreamed. After I was in the Senate about 5 months, I was sitting in the Democratic cloakroom about 11 o'clock at night. We were having late votes. I looked around that cloakroom and I saw one senator angry, one senator talking, one senator walking up and down the floor pacing, one senator on the telephone, one senator clearly thinking. And I thought to myself, you know, this isn't a lot different than the Nick locker room. And really at core, both are a matter of getting people from different backgrounds with different experiences and different personal agendas to agree on a shared goal and work toward it. That process defines both teamwork and the public interest. When the game is over, as it is for all of us up here, life goes on. But what remains beyond the character building and the financial security and the enhanced human understanding are the memories. Standing in Tokyo in 1964 as a member of the U.S. Olympic team, with the gold medal hanging around my neck, the national anthem playing, and a lump in my throat. Riding back to Princeton in 1965 with the Eastern Regional Championship and the knowledge that we'd played a perfect game. Seeing Willis Reed hobble onto the court for the 7th game of the World Championship of Basketball in 1970, and seeing his example spur us on to victory. Missing the last shot a year later against Baltimore in the 1971 Eastern regional finals. Knowing that for 24 hours after a championship, that you're the best in the world. And going beyond, finally, the goosebumps that competition creates, beyond the thrill of victory, to the simple play, executed with the right blending of human forces so that that moment has an inexorable rightness about it. I never thought of what my contribution to the game has been because, as I said, I rarely thought of myself outside the context of whatever team I was playing on. But I'm flattered by this honor tonight. I'm proud to be here. Proud to say thanks to all those along the way who gave me coaching and support and encouragement and insight. Proud of what we did together. Proudest if my contribution has been to reaffirm an old truth, that only if you pull together can you succeed. Only if you realize that who scores isn't important, but who wins is, and how they win is the most important of all. Thank you very much.